Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we are Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. Thank you for joining us for our daily virtual offering at 10 a.m. Today is the All for One Staff Minister Show. And our topic today is Let It Be. But before we begin, let's center ourselves. So I invite you to recline, relax, close your eyes, take a couple of deep, full, slow breaths to get us in the most receptive space, the most relaxed space. Slow breath. So to revel in the mystery and the wisdom and the flow and the power of the infinite presence that shows up right here in our time together. I recognize that infinite presence that is God, that is the divine, that is flowing right here and everywhere through the words and the idea and the presence and space of myself and my fellow ministers, for the perfect receptivity of all those listening, including ourselves, to hear that divine power and presence of God, of the infinite, of spirit, be its perfect self, to support us in knowing a deeper understanding of our oneness with God. And through that knowingness, through that acceptance, a deeper experience of wholeness as health, as abundance, as love permeates, imbues, and expresses as our lives individually and collectively. For this truth, I give grateful thanks. As I have impressed this word upon the law of mind, knowing it is so right now, I give grateful thanks. We just let this time be, and so it is. Amen. Well, our kind of intro question today, first I'll kind of speak our energy into the room, is what is the most peaceful place or experience you have ever had? And two instantly came to mind for me when I read this question this morning, because I don't usually read them until that morning. One was, I've been a practitioner for a few years, and I was in prayer for a Board of Trustees meeting at my church. And I had my infant son with me because his mom was in the meeting and my son was still nursing. And so I would take care of him and get him to nurse her. But I was just in prayer the whole time. And I remember 4 hours went by, and I don't remember my son doing anything other than sleeping or wiggling. And it was such an expanded feeling to have that 4 hours go by. That was my longest meditation and inward time as a practitioner up until that point. And another one's outside. I'm going to share two. I went on a retreat with Daniel Nahmad, the singer that's been sharing at many of our spiritual communities for the last couple of dozen years and maybe 20 years. And he had a retreat in Yellowstone. And we were all on the bus. We got out and we hiked down to this creek. So we're all sitting along the creek, and Daniel has his guitar out singing. And the creek is about 40, 50 feet across. You could wade across the whole thing. On the other side is this huge cliff with some birds and nests. And we're just looking at this beauty as he's singing some amazing song. And those two things are just to I can feel the physicalness of the awe that I felt during those times. So that's for me. How about Reverend Dale? What's your most peaceful place or beautiful experience you've ever had?
I would have to say one of the most peaceful experiences I've had was my first trip to Asilomar with what used to be Religious Science International. It was so beautiful, the surroundings, the ocean, and then being with all of our cohorts, all of our brothers and sisters of Science of Mind. It was just such an enriching, fulfilling experience. And it was just, for me, it was a whole week of peace and joy. And if I pray that in the future that Centers for Spiritual Living will have an annual trip to Asilomar, because it is so fulfilling and fun and wonderful and very, very peaceful, because there's just, there's an energy about people coming together who hold that higher consciousness of God in everything and God in everyone that just brings this deep, profound peace. So that's my share for today. And I think Reverend William, you're up next.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'd have to say that for me, it's a few years ago, we went to Thailand. And when we were in the old capital of Chiang Mai, there's one of the palaces that was up on the hill, up in the mountains. As we went there, the clouds were coming in. And as you go up into the clouds, they no longer are clouds there. It's more of just fog or mist. And we were walking through this botanical garden, just in the forest, and everything's just wet and just it's moisture, and there's fog, and there's things are just disappearing into the distance, and there's just nature all around. The frogs, the birds. I mean, birds, sounds you don't hear in the States, and this wooden path, the dirt path that just kind of meandered up the hill as it faded into the fog and the mist. Whew, I'm getting bumps right now just thinking about it. So that for me was the most spiritual feeling I've had, just outside of just looking inward. Now I'd like to turn it over to Reverend Cheryl.
Well, I think that I think I shared this during practitioner training that there was this place. It's in the Carmel Highlands, and it's right on the ocean. And it was this really beautiful place that has like old growth trees, really, really tall. And I was staying at the hotel there, and I had a dog, and her name was Bandita, as we called her, but she had autoimmune disease, and it had attacked her joints. And so she was an older girl. So usually when I took her out, I could just walk, just a little ways, just so she could, do her business and stuff. And so we came out of the hotel and we started walking on this street, and she just kept walking. And it's like it was so silent in these old growth trees. And the only thing you could hear in the background was the roar of the ocean. And we just started walking. And we just kept walking, and I didn't even notice how far we had gone. And it was uphill too, so it wasn't like it was easy. But this silence of this place was just like so profound that anyway, we just kept going, and pretty soon we're at the top of this hill, and I think, oh, I better turn around. I'm probably going to have to carry her. I didn't. She just kept going. It was like she was in this place where she was totally without pain. And so we start walking down the hill, and here comes at the time, my husband. He came up the hill and goes, "Where have you been?" I said, "We were worried about you. We didn't know what happened to you." And I go, "What do you mean?" I thought I'd been out there maybe 10 minutes. We had been gone over an hour. So it was just this place where everything was this perfect calmness, this perfect serenity, and the perfect healing. And that was the thing, is that she was like almost like healed. She's just kept going and going and going and going. And we're usually, sometimes in the morning I had to hold her up, to get her outside. So that was to me the most beautiful place. I think it was a vortex or something in that area, because I still dream about that place. I still think about that. It was really beautiful. So now I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Gail.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. And thank you all. I loved all your stories, but even more than that, I could really feel the peace, and in all cases, the awe in your hearts as you told those stories. So thank you so much. And I think the most peaceful experience I've ever had is when I was holding and cuddling one of my beloved cats as she made her transition. This cat had been in my family for 19 years, and both she and I had made peace with her transition. We'd made peace with her next great adventure and the part we would play in each other's journeys. And we had really shared many loving conversations up to this point about how these final physical moments might come together. They might play out for her and for me. And I felt both our shared love and her desire at the same time, and her readiness to celebrate her next great adventure all at the same time. So the experiences can be both sad and peaceful. And this experience was deeply filled with both for me. So that leads me to our topic today. So is it time to replace letting go with letting be? And an important part, how to start. So we all know what it's like to let go of someone or something that is dear to us. Even letting go of a strained relationship or feelings about something that are difficult for us can be really challenging. Well, experiencing this as we all do, how might you be applying let it go in your life? Well, I had to think about this, and letting it go in my world has really meant letting go of the things that I can't control. Sometimes that means people, relationships, words that have been spoken, thoughts, maybe situations that I find myself in. But after all, why should I hold on to things that I can't control? And what I do know is that these situations are going to be exactly what they need to be at the time, whether it was my plan or not. So I believe that most everybody is all about making a difference and helping people find good in their lives. But sometimes we can't change our experiences or someone else's. And for me, I think this is one of life's most important lessons. So no matter how much we put into something, it might not turn out the way we really wanted it to. So I've learned I've got to focus on the what and not the how. So in this example, letting go can feel like a powerful affirmation. Considering letting go of the things we can't control leads me to my next affirmation, which is let it be. So aside from the fact that I am a huge Beatles fan and I might have these words tattooed right here on my side, I've come to embrace let it be as an even greater influence on my daily mental processes than let it go. So let it be for me means letting things be, just letting them be as they are. And similar to the way that we can choose to let go of things we can't control, we can let things be just the way they are. And this was a really important realization for me because I found in contemplating this subject for today that I often don't simply let things be. So all of our lives, we're all told to get out there, create your dreams, and create what you want out of life. And I completely agree with this. I think life's exactly what we make it. But there's a difference between going after what you want and constantly trying to change things in your life that you don't want. For me, this gets exhausting and it's mentally draining. And for me, it's hindering more than I even realize. So what if instead letting go doesn't mean we have to get rid of something or someone? What if instead letting go means to let be? Jack Kornfield said that when we let something just be with compassion, things come and go on their own. I'm going to say that again because I just love this quote. When we let something just be with compassion, things come and go on their own. So given that thought, consider something in your life that you've been struggling to let go of. And what if instead you let it just be with compassion? So with that introduction to our topic today, how do you let go and or let be in your life? We would love it if you would share your answers with us in the comments while I turn this over to my cohorts to see what this might have stirred up within them. Who would like to go next? Looks like Reverend Cheryl.
Well, you know, when one of the things that when you say "let it be" is, of course, Beatles song immediately in your head. But I just remember at one point we used to, and I still do, but some people don't, but we would say, "and so it is," and then amen, because it was, kind of like an add-on. Some people, when they finish a treatment or a prayer, they just, it was a natural flow for them just to say amen. And so one time I was thinking, what's the difference? And amen means literally, and so be it. So we were saying, and so it is, and so be it, when you said amen. So to me, that's kind of what letting go of the attachment to the outcome is what I think about when I think about in treatment and stuff. I know what I desire to have or experience in my life, but I don't necessarily know the best way to do that. Only Spirit does. And even though I might have it in my smaller spirit mind that this is the way it has to turn out, this is how it's supposed to look, this is all the surrounding, all the accoutrements that go with it, they're all supposed to be just like I think they should be. But the reality is when I just let it be and I let go of my attachment to whatever it is, it just all of a sudden I'll say, oh, there it is. It didn't show up like I expected it to, but it did show up. And that's the whole difference, is it does always show up in some form or fashion. And I always kind of feel like sometimes when I let go of a prayer that all of a sudden, all these things keep cropping up in my life that, bam, I feel like a whack-a-mole, like bam, 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 all this stuff's coming up. But the reality is when I look at it, it's things that I need to clean up and get straightened out in my life in order for my good to appear. Maybe it's a lesson I need to learn. Maybe it's something that I've, it's been out there, but I really haven't addressed it or whatever. And so when I just let go and just let it be, all those things might appear in my life, but they're not affecting me personally. It's just things that I have attracted to me that need to be cleaned up. So that's why I like to call all those things adventures. Oh, here's a new adventure, but it's not something that's coming at me. It's something I'm attracting in order to clean out my life. And so sometimes I just have to say, okay, this is what's appearing. Well, let's just let it be. So thank you for this beautiful topic, Reverend Gail. This is great. So who wants to go next? Dale. Okay, Reverend Dale.
Thank you. And I have to echo Cheryl, your topic this week, Reverend Gail's I'm so resonating with it right now in my life. And for me, I'm all about inner dialogue. I'm always very present to what's going on in my head. And I had something recently where I was, I was resistant and I was trying to pray it away and do all this stuff to make it not be a reality. And I realized I had to ask myself, how long are you going to struggle with this? This is what's unfolding. So surrender to it. Let it be, let it go. And, it made me so very clear that I had emotional attachment and I was trying to make life conform to be in such a way where I didn't have to feel grief or feel upset. And I'm reading this book right now called Wabi Sabi. And anybody who knows Reverend Marion, that was her thing. And Wabi Sabi is like being good with life as it shows up, just going with the flow of it, seeing the beauty in it all. And Reverend Gail spoke to that when she was giving her share about her kitty, just being at peace with how things are unfolding. And that's really, for me, it's being okay with what is, because, we can't control other things in our life. We can control our consciousness, our reactions to stuff, but the things that surround us, the events, the people, everybody's doing their own thing. And for me, I always have to remember it's not about things needing to conform to me so that I'm at peace. It's about me finding peace in everything. So I really appreciate this idea. I think what Reverend Gail gave to us today is a huge gift, because a lot of us, we get very triggered on outer circumstances. And what we teach is to, like I just said, we find the peace within ourselves, no matter what's going on outside of ourselves. And that develops with spiritual practice and deepening our spiritual ideology. So that's my share for this moment. And it looks like Reverend Brad is following me.
Cool. So
Oh, Brad.
So I could be really upset that I remuted my microphone, but in the moment, it's so irrelevant, right? So if I had every single one of my wonderful colleagues say, hey, Brad, your microphone's muted, or I just did it purposely to make another point in a dorky way, it's just letting it be. You know, Reverend Gail mentioned some circumstances that are beyond our control. And in the physicality of life, if our awesome producer, Krista from Swing Point Media, is the person who muted me, which she did not. But if she had muted me, that's completely out of my control. But you know what's totally in my control? My reaction to no matter who muted me, whenever, get it, muted me, anytime, my reaction to that is what's completely in my control. And remember that phrase is kind of used too much, what you resist persists. So let's look at the science of that for just a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
The science of that is, it doesn't matter what you're resisting, but the energy and essence of resisting is going to show up in form in whatever you think you're trying to manifest. So if I'm going, this has got to happen, I don't care if it's $1 million or a healthy knee or a loving relationship, in that is going to be this kind of energy. So, you know, as practitioners and ministers, we're always encouraging people, whatever you want to manifest, have it come from this place of, so that in that space of, you can think of the $1 million, the healthy knee, the loving relationship, and that energy and essence of is in there. One last thing. Right now, I finished a few weeks back, I finished the sequels to the Dune series by Frank Herbert, the Dune books. I love them. Love them, love them, love them. I have them on Kindle, I have them on Audible, and I have the hard copies. And finally, after years of my son having the first issue, he's read it twice. So then I got him the other ones just after Christmas. And so I'm rereading the beginning series along with him. And there's a really powerful, completely metaphysical phrase in here, and I'm just going to read it. And if you want it, you can either email me at revbradley@gmail.com or just go to Dune Fear Quote in your favorite. So just take this in. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. That's just, I got chills hearing that again. That's just rich. Yeah. So I can't quickly look at the chat. So who's ever next, just jump in.
Mic drop. That's all I've got to say. Love Dune and the remake. I don't know about the new remake coming out here because I love the original movie. But I'm going to stay open and I'm going to let it be. I tell you what, Reverend Gail, what a great topic. And everyone's thoughts on this up to this point has been just spot on. There's not much more to say, but ditto. Just everything has been well spoken. Just allowing it to be, and Reverend Brad was talking on it. As you're thinking about that which needs to be let go in a peaceful manner, the fact that you're holding on to those thoughts, that's what Reverend Bradley, at least from my comprehension of what he was saying, what I was feeling on the inside at this moment, is the fact that you're thinking about it, you're allowing it to still be manifested into your life. And as we allow those feelings to just subside and release, it allows it to unfold in its perfect and natural order as it leaves our experience. I was watching a video on something about a glass of water, about a philosopher, and the kids thought that he was going to talk, oh, is the glass half full, half empty? And he goes, how much does it weigh? And they go 8 ounces, 10 ounces, whatever it is. And he goes, but what does that mean? If you hold it for a couple of minutes, no big deal. But let's say you hold that glass of water for an hour. Let's say you hold it for 12 hours. What's going to happen by that 12th hour? Your arm is going to feel like it's going to fall off. And so the teacher goes to the students, so what do you do about that? And one of the students comes over, well, set the glass down. And the teacher says, and getting God bumps, that's just like thoughts. The more you hold it, they're not much there, but the longer you hold on to these feelings, they weigh down upon us on a spiritual level, on a physical level, and everything, as we know and teach, manifests. Thoughts become form. So as we hold on to these negative thoughts or these feelings or looking at life, which unfolds perfectly, but looking at, no, this is wrong, as we hold on to those thoughts, they weigh upon our spiritual selves and they manifest in form. So just allow yourself, as Reverend Gale has said, just let it be. Life is nothing but experiences. I like to think of it as this life, we are energy, we're omnipresent, but not in this form. Our consciousness is limited to what this reality is. But we know that we are spirit incarnate, that we are energy. And so everything that God is, we are. So since God is omnipresent, then technically we are. So if we just allow life to unfold and allow this experience to be the carnival ride, the e-ticket, just allow it to be and enjoy it. And yes, there are times when things don't go as what we want them to. But when you can look at them and reflect back on them as wonderful experiences, you can let go of that beautiful loved one. And sorry, getting a little emotional there. You can look back with joy in your heart and not so much sorrow. Sorrow is an experience. But better yet, to look at life, look in your own rearview mirror with joy and compassion for the experience of that life. Thank you, Reverend Gale, for such a beautiful and wonderful topic. I'm going to just allow it to turn over to whoever else wants to follow up on that. Thank you.
So thanks, Reverend William. I'll follow up. And I just want to thank you, Reverend William, and all of my cohorts for expanding on this topic so beautifully today. Really appreciate all the comments that have been shared. And so as you know, our topic today is a question. Is it time to replace let it go with let it be? So a question for you. And the second part is where to start. So I wanted to address some ways to start. So one of my favorite phrases is this: I can't expect more from people than who they are and what they can give. In other words, everyone is doing the best they can with what they have lived and where their consciousness is. So remembering this for me is a really good start to living the affirmation, let it be. I've also found that it's best not to be tied into the outcome of things, like Reverend Cheryl said, because it can often lead to disappointment, right? And instead, I try to be open to how the chips are going to fall, realizing that everything is unfolding as it needs to, and everything is for a purpose. And guess what? I won't always understand what that purpose is, and that's okay. I try and create instead a healthy space for myself and then let it be. And one of the keys in mastering life for me, I've discovered, is knowing that I have the key. I have the key. I'm in charge of myself and my choices. And empowerment comes from this knowing. I can let myself be defined by my limited beliefs, or I can allow my mind to expand into who I choose to be and believe in myself from that moment forward. I remind myself that, hey, I'm not living in the past, so there's nothing to let go of because I'm creating from the present. So I'd like to pose this same question to my cohorts if you're interested in expanding in this way. If the affirmation, let it be, is valuable to you, what are some ways that you start this shift? And I think, Reverend Dale, you were going to jump in next.
Yeah, and I think I'm in concert with where you're taking us as well, of course, right? So for me, what I'd like to remind myself of where I start getting really constricted and controlling and just wanting things to be a certain way, and it's time to let go. I remind myself that within me is a greater wisdom and around me is a greater wisdom, because I find that when I'm wanting to just grasp so tightly, and I do need to acknowledge David Flint, one of our practitioner students, he put attachment as being something that that's a part of this whole not wanting to let go of stuff. And I agree with that. Attachment is it's very entangling. And that's part of this process of letting go, of getting disentangled and disattached, so we can be in what I like to call that flow of the divine. The little me, maybe the child me wants things to be a certain way. They have to be a certain way, and if they're not a certain way, something's out of kilter. But there's a greater wisdom inside of me, and this developing that, I think, comes with this spiritual maturity that we all can do, and that's to understand, like Reverend Gale said, there's a purpose that may not be visible right now, and for me to understand and remind myself when I'm going through that needing to let it be, I have to remember that I am one with everything, and there's an innate wholeness to me and all life that can never go away, because we are all one and we are all whole. So if I know that, it's easier for me to let go, because I know as I let go, I'm really not losing anything. Life is just unfolding perfectly, and to stand in that truth allows me to let go a lot more easily. And now, Reverend Cheryl, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I seem to be out of sync all day today. But anyway, inside joke, guys. But I love that phrase, Dale. Reverend Dale. It was spiritual maturity. Wow. It's almost like you have to understand that letting go is not necessarily a bad thing, and especially when it comes to, for me anyway, when it came to relationships. Sometimes you're in these really long-term relationships that, we've been friends since blah, 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 and I mean, we've done all this stuff together. But then what I noticed is that my spiritual maturity was growing, that some of these relationships, I saw them from a different point of view, in the sense that it was not, it was a toxic relationship. Not that either one of us were toxic, but it was just together we did not make a good brew. Let's just say that. But you just realize that letting go of this person is not throwing them out of your life or saying, I don't want to be around you anymore. It's just like, there's an understanding that we just kind of drift. You just drift off into, and you bless them on their path, and want their highest and best good forever. But you also understand that your direction and theirs has changed. And where you're going, it's not that they can't be included, but they're just not going to walk alongside your path like before. And sometimes that letting go, even though it makes me sad, because this, I have memories, I have all these good times and good things that have occurred. But then also I see that I'm not on that same path any longer. And it's not that they were wrong or I was right, or what I'm doing is right and what they're doing is wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It has to be me being very consciously aware and spiritually mature to recognize that this is the path I'm supposed to be on. And that's the easy part right there. Once you do that, this is the path, then letting go of things they just kind of fall away. Things just start falling away when you get to that point. Anyway, who was going to go next? Let's see. Gail, Reverend Gail.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. So I'll go ahead and jump in. So I've got another question for each of my cohorts, because I found this subject to be full of opportunities for me to be honest, more honest with myself. So what area of your life do you notice it is really difficult to just let be? So if I'm going to ask a question, I first need to answer my own question. So here it is. So have you ever said or done anything that you thought was really stupid or really dumb? And I know I have. And then really wished I could take it back. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works, right? It's not possible. You know, I often think of this when I feel this way. It's a lot like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It's impossible, right? So what's important for me to remember is that I can only move forward, and I can also learn from my mistakes. Mm-hmm. After all, that's the value in making a mistake, right? It's a great lesson learned. So what say you, my friends? What area of your life do you notice it is really difficult to just let be?
I think I'll jump in on that one. Children. That's all I gotta say is children. Talk about teaching patience and allowing it to just be. That is Spirit's way of really teaching a lesson. I love all of our kids. We are a blended family, and every single one of them has gone their own path, and they are doing their own thing. And as parents, we couldn't be more proud of them and more pleased that they are finding themselves. But it's that transition, that 10 years, that 8 years, that 5 years of where they go from being these adolescents that need you to teach them, don't touch the fire, it will burn you, to where they go to, I'm 15 years old and my parents are idiots. They don't know what the heck they're talking about. They're so old. And then when they get to be in their mid-20s and late 20s, to where all of a sudden they realize we aren't quite the idiots they thought we were. I tell you, I love life in every aspect. And that's where this philosophy and this way of thinking have allowed me to grow in appreciation and just allowing things to let it be. But I'm telling you what, when you're going, yea, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, don't build condos. I love that what Dr. Joe says, and that's absolutely true. Just allow it to be, let it just be there. Just experience it. Learn the lessons that you need to learn. I can't tell you what lessons you're going to learn about X, Y, Z. Only you can know that lesson that is going to be learned or is being learned in this moment right now. I mean, look at this. Here we go. Buckle up, Buttercup. This past year, wow, what a ride. All this excitement, all this turmoil. So it seems. So we're told by medias and outlets. But honestly, truthfully, for myself, and maybe this is true for my cohorts, and maybe it's true for yourself as you're viewing this past year has not been that big of a deal. Yes, people have made their transitions, but don't people make their transitions anyway? That's just part of life. From my vantage point, and each of us can only talk about life from their perspective. But I'm sure that everybody's individual little circle may seem not that bad for what we're being told. I can tell you that my life this past year has been different. Wearing a mask, making sure I really, make it a point to wash my hands every time I touch something, get the antiseptics and, rinse my hands off and stuff like that. But other than that, life still unfolds. I still what I need to do for that day. I still go grocery shopping. I still cook. I still go out to restaurants. I still see friends, whether call them on the phone or whatever. But truthfully, everything is unfolding perfectly. It doesn't have to be this Chicken Little and the sky's falling, because it really isn't. It's our own perspective and how we see life. If you just allow it to be and just let it go and just know that it's just a momentary experience in this finite period. We talk about there is no future, there is no past, there's only now. So why don't we live in the now? And I think that's where Reverend Gail is trying to have us go, is let's truly live in the present moment and experience life and take from it joy and gratitude, regardless of the parameters of what's going on, because it shows that we're alive, that we exist, and that we matter, and that you matter. So when you can come from that standpoint or realize that about yourself, like the Beatles say, let it be. Like Reverend Gail says, let it be. And let that be your mantra. And when that becomes your mantra, enjoy this life right here and right now. I've done a little talking, and I know there's lots of chats over here in the back, and I can't tell who's going to go next. So whoever's next, please. Reverend Cheryl, Reverend Dale. Okay, let's duke it out. Rock, paper, scissors.
Issues today. I'll follow Cheryl.
Oh, God, no, it is Dale. So I apologize, but just thinking about letting your life just unfold. That is the hardest thing for us to do. We want to control it. We're in the driver's seat. Actually, we are controlling our life, but sometimes we just don't realize it because of the fact that we just don't let things be. We just try to drive it, let everything unfold and according to our plan, and it just doesn't work that way. Our plan is just a little plan. We got to remember the big plan. And what William was saying about just what Reverend Gail had said about what do I have to let go of, and what mine is that sometimes it's hard to get out of a mindset from your past, that you don't even realize that you're in this pattern, that you're just following this pattern. And when you step back and you just let things be, sometimes, or it has for me anyway, I see the pattern that I've created, and I see what's unfolding in my life because of this pattern. And so when I can just let go, take a deep breath, and just let everything just unfold naturally. It always does. And it always comes back to being exactly what I wanted and without even realizing it. So I love this phrase. Thank you so much. And so I guess that after me, it's going to be Reverend Brad. So Reverend Brad, please take us home.
I decided that if wonderful producer Krista put the camera on me, then I would speak up. Because I'm just letting it be this morning of who's up next. Sorry, folks. You can't see our chat, so we have a lot of chats on our screens behind the scenes of talking to each other and sharing information. And I'm trying to make a joke and no one's laughing. So anyway, we'll just go on with that. But I'll still recognize David, our practitioner input turn of the quote, because David's coming through Facebook, but it may not be on other platforms. But his comment of letting things go is an act of far greater power than hanging on. You know me, I use that physical stuff. So this is hanging on, and this is letting go. Which you think is going to help us physically, emotionally, and mentally be more receptive to the infinite amazingness that is God? Holding on, letting go. I used to teach people meditation, and I've been doing meditation for years. Maybe I've shared this story. And one time, it was at a Silmar, or Reverend Dale mentioned a Silmar, and I was in the back of the room, and I wasn't really engaged with the speaker, so I was just decided to go into meditation, and I turned my hands like this. I remember that first time I can feel the physicalness that happened just by doing this. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't receptive or oming or anything like that. I just did this. But if someone's throwing me a massive chocolate chip cookie or a ball, I'm going to have my hands up like this to receive. So I encourage you to try that during your meditation, of just consciously put your hands like this and just breathe. And you can breathe in and out of your hands, or just notice your breath, or whatever works for you. But do this kind of experience to physically remind yourselves, I am so letting go. I'm receptive to everything of God. So, all right. Let's see. Should I pick on somebody or just let someone open their mic?
I'll open my mic, Reverend Bradley. So we are getting close to the time of our event today, where we are moving into our closing. And before we do, I'd like to invite each one of my cohorts to share a closing comment if they have one. Would anyone like to share? Dale, Reverend Dale.
Thank you. So as you know, I'm all about self-discovery, because there's so much to learn about ourselves. And the more we learn about ourselves and those sticky places that we have that keep us from living in that unlimited flow of life, when we can find those places, we can heal and open up. And for me, this idea of where we have trouble letting go, it's a place to discover where we have trouble letting go and what we can do, what it says about ourselves. I know for me, I'm not so much having this experience as I once was, but I used to always want to be right about everything, to the point of feeling very defensive if I wasn't. And that was an opportunity for me to look at myself and say, well, why do I need to be right? Why do I have to feel that I need to be right? And it opened up this whole layer of healing, where I felt I had insecurities about myself and self-esteem issues. So rather than needing to perpetuate this need to be right, I was able to look at healing myself, and now I don't even have that desire or need to be right anymore. So this is just another opportunity to look and see where are these places where I can't let go, and what is it saying about me, because there's a healing to be had. So that's my closing comment. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next, Reverend Dale. Yes. Letting go and letting it be. Two different ways of saying the same idea or the same emotion. You hear us talk about Spirit knows more than we do. And in our finite thinking, we think that we have control over every aspect. But consider this and know this to be the truth, that Spirit knows a hell of a lot more than we do. So yes, direct your life, think about what you want to experience, but let it go and let it be when it comes to the how it is to unfold. I know we've talked a lot about today as far as relationships and letting go of things like that, but it doesn't matter what it is. Ultimately, whatever the noun is that's in that sentence or that thought, it's just that, a noun. You can put anything into that sentence. So whatever outcome that you want to have happen, just allow it to be and unfold. And it will naturally do so in the perfect manner on how you think about it. So you don't need to know the path per se, but just know that you are on the right direction to allowing your life to unfold perfectly. And with that, if no one else has anything else to say, I'd like to give it back over to Reverend Gail.
So I'll jump in with a really quick closing comment, and then I'm going to invite Reverend Dale to just bring us home, okay? So instead of trying to let things go, I invite you today to consider simply letting things be. This is an attitude from which we can make space, lots of space. So rather than pushing parts of you away, instead create an environment that allows you to simply loosen your grip. We don't have to fix anything. Everything is unfolding exactly as it needs to. What we're doing is bringing tender, non-judgmental attention to our body and just making room for whatever is living there. This is how the process of sustainable change begins. I'm going to share in my close the words of Pema Chodron. She says, "Nothing ever goes away until it teaches us exactly what we need to know." Reverend Dale, take us home.
Thank you, Reverend Gail, and thank you, my beloveds. I must share with everybody at home that our Reverend Bradley is temporarily going to be, he will not be with our group on Wednesdays, and we are going to miss him. But, I'm holding a higher knowing. I'm holding a higher knowing that this is very temporary. We look forward to your return, Reverend Bradley. But you can still reach him. I know he's still available because he loves to serve. So we love you, Reverend Bradley. Okay, so at this moment, I would like to invite you all to give to our center a financial gift, whatever is on your heart to give. We have been so blessed by your gifts. We've, as you know, we don't have Sundays anymore. We don't pass the basket around, but we have been receiving financial gifts from you guys through our website and through texting and sending in checks. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. As you know, we do have staff, we do have a building, and your financial prosperity allows us to continue being prosperous and to continue giving you online offerings. And so we're very, very grateful for whatever you can give to us. We receive, and we know that as we receive, we give to you, and it's just one big circle of divine reciprocity. I'd like to just share some announcements that are for what's taking place the rest of this week on our 10 a.m.s. Tomorrow, Reverend Dr. Laura is going to be interviewing Arthur Chang, who is the senior minister at Founders Church in Los Angeles. And I believe that was the first religious science church in Los Angeles. And it was constructed in the 60s. So she's a great interviewer. And I know you're going to get a lot out of her interview with him tomorrow. He's a phenomenal mind and human being. On Friday, we have something very special to us here. Dr. James Mellon, who was our teacher, is going to be interviewed with Dr. Joe on Friday. So we invite you to get to know him. You got to know him when we interviewed him. And now Dr. Joe will be interviewing him. And just in case you don't know, Dr. Joe and Dr. James are very good friends. They both became ministers at the same time, and they may have met at Asilomar. It's a lot of Asilomar references today. I'm hoping that means something. But they met at Asilomar when they were both going through their ministerial panels, as did Dr. Laura as well. So they're very close, and I think they're going to have a fun conversation. And Saturday, we've got our new meditation. So come join us for the meditation at 10 a.m. on Saturday. It's a great way to get your mind in a good place. And Sunday, as you know, we have our service. And of course, I have to put a shameless plug for me. Next Tuesday, I have Audrey Collier, who used to teach yoga at our center, and she's a fascinating woman. And we're going to be talking about her new project, it's called Taking Back Your Temple. She brings mind body together, and we're going to talk all about the mind body connection and her new gift to the world, which is bringing back your connection with your physicality, because a lot of people have gotten very separated from their bodies because we're so inside a lot. We're not doing as much outdoor as we once were. So she's going to be giving some great tips on that. Do my friends have anything that they want to share before I go into our prayer? Okay. Always Power of 8 a.m. on Wednesdays, and the Social 8s Thursdays at 5. I heard our men's group, we had a great number of guys. So that's building, that's once a month. And our Spirit of Women, that's the third Sunday of the month as well. We've got a lot of things coming and a lot of good stuff that we're continuing to give to you. And so stay tuned. There's always something for you to do. All right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close us with a prayer. So if you want to just close your eyes or soften your gaze and just relax wherever you are and just take a breath. Oh, just allowing ourselves to digest and assimilate all this wonderful wisdom that came through our beloved ministers and those who have shared comments with us, and just to let it be, let life be what it is, because within and woven within it all is spirit. That one power, that presence, that source of life is always in whatever we are experiencing, because we are it experiencing it. And so I am knowing that as we are able to just be with what is and understand our lives and who we are and grow ourselves spiritually, so that we can be in a state of peace with all that we are walking through, knowing we're never alone. We are always in the oneness of God, and we're always one together. And so I'm grateful to know, with that said, there is so much good coming forth for everybody who's tuned in today. And for those who watch the replay, it's all about expansion and love and joy, and remembering who we are as spiritual expressions of the one. And so I'm knowing a blessed week for everybody as we just move into the rest of our day with joy and love. And so I let go, I let it be, as we say together, and so it is. Thank you.